47 minutes. That's how long Sarah had been staring at the sealed envelope on Kong Min's desk, her name written in his precise handwriting across the front. For Sarah, if I don't return. Her hands wouldn't stop shaking. The penthouse felt too big, too empty, too quiet except for the storm hammering against the floor-to-ceiling windows. Rain streaked down the glass like Tear's soul was crying for her. She tried everything. Called Kong Min 17 times. Straight to voicemail. Traced Minji's last call, dead burner line untraceable. Called Jin Ho, who'd gone radio silent the moment his team moved out. She was alone with her terror and this envelope that might contain goodbye. Sarah picked it up again, pressed it to her lips. Don't leave me again, Min, she whispered into the empty room. Please, not again. 7 years ago, he'd left her waking up alone in a hotel room with nothing but the memory of his touch and a life growing inside her. She'd survived that abandonment, learned to be strong, learned to raise Leslie alone. But this was different, because now she knew what it felt like to have him present, to watch him read bedtime stories to their daughter, to feel his hand on the small of her back when he thought no one was watching, to fall asleep on his chest listening to his heartbeat and believing, foolishly, desperately, that maybe they could be a real family. The envelope felt heavy. Final. She couldn't open it. Opening it meant accepting he might not come back, that their story might end tonight with her reading his last words instead of hearing his voice. So she set it down, backed away from the desk, and forced herself to think. Hold on. Before we go further, I need to ask something. Where are you watching this? Seriously. Are you at work sneaking this during a break? Folding laundry at 2 a.m.? Sitting in your parked car because you can't go inside until you know what happens? Tell me in the comments. I reply every one of them. Because knowing there are real people out there, in real places, as invested in Leslie's story as I am, that's what makes creating these worth it. If you want to support the channel and help me keep making these intense story episodes, super thanks is incredibly appreciated. Every bit helps me dedicate more time to crafting these. But honestly, just you being here, caring about what happens to this little girl with the impossible birthmark, that's enough. Now let's see what Sarah does when she's left alone with that envelope. Leslie was out there. Kong Min was out there. And Sarah was here, useless, waiting. No. She grabbed her phone, scrolled through Kong Min's recent calls on the device he'd dropped during his rush to leave. Most were in Korean, names she didn't recognize. But one stood out. Jehun, do not answer. A cousin, she remembered Kong Min mentioning once. Estranged. Brilliant. Dangerous in ways that had nothing to do with violence. Sarah's finger hovered over the number. This was stupid. Reckless. Exactly what Kong Min had told her not to do. She called anyway. 3 rings. Then a voice smooth as expensive whiskey. Well, this is unexpected. Is this Jehun? Depends on who's asking with my cousin's phone at. A pause like he was checking the time. 2:37 in the morning. My name is Sarah Williams. I'm the mother of the miracle child. Yes, I know who you are. Something shifted in his tone, curiosity sharpening into interest. Question is, why are you calling me instead of waiting like a good girl for Min to handle his business? Sarah's grip tightened on the phone. Because my daughter was kidnapped, and he went alone to get her back, and I can't just sit here doing nothing while. Her voice cracked. She hated it. Hated the vulnerability, the desperation bleeding through. Jehun was quiet for a long moment. When he spoke again, his voice had gentled. He must mean a lot to you. It wasn't a question. It was an observation, delivered with the kind of knowing that made Sarah feel exposed. She didn't answer. Couldn't. Because the truth was too big, too terrifying to speak out loud. She loved Kong Min, loved him in a way that made no logical sense after everything. The lies, the complications, the fact that 6 months ago she didn't even know he existed beyond one anonymous night. But love didn't care about logic. Meet me, Jehun said finally. 20 minutes. The coffee shop on Gangnam Boulevard, the one that's open all night. You know it. I'll find it. Sarah. His voice dropped lower. Whatever you think you know about my cousin, about his world, about what's happening tonight, you're wrong. But I'll help you anyway. Because something tells me you're the kind of woman who'll do something spectacularly stupid if I don't. The line went dead. Sarah stood frozen for 3 seconds, then moved. She changed out of her nightgown into jeans and a dark jacket, grabbed her keys. paused at the door, looking back at the envelope on Kong Min's desk. If I don't return. You're returning, she told the empty room. You're coming back to us. You have to. The storm hit her the moment she stepped outside, rain soaking through her jacket before she even reached her car. Seoul at night was a different creature. Neon lights reflecting off wet pavement, the city alive despite the hour. She drove too fast, hands white-knuckled on the steering wheel, Kong Min's words from earlier echoing in her head. Stay here. My people are coming. They'll protect you. But Jin Ho's people weren't here. No one was here. And Sarah had learned a long time ago that waiting for someone else to save you was how you ended up alone. The coffee shop materialized through the rain like a beacon. Inside, only 3 customers. 2 salary men nursing hangovers, and a man in the corner booth wearing a smile that didn't match the situation. Jae-hoon. He was younger than she expected, maybe mid-30s, with Kong Min's sharp features, but none of his controlled intensity. Where Kong Min held himself like coiled steel, Jae-hoon lounged like a cat who'd already won a game no one else knew they were playing. Sarah Williams. He gestured to the seat across from him. Sit. We have so much to discuss. She slid into the booth, meeting his unsettling gaze. Can you help me find them? I can do better than that. Jae-hoon's smile widened. I can tell you exactly where they are. Because I'm the one who told Minji where to take your daughter. Sarah's blood turned to ice. And now, he continued, pulling out his phone, I'm going to help you save them both. Isn't that what you want? Sarah's hand moved before her brain caught up, grabbing the butter knife from the table and pointing it at Jae-hoon with shaking fury. You son of a... Careful. His voice stayed pleasant, but his eyes hardened. We're in public, and that's a butter knife. You'd have better luck throwing your coffee at me. You told her where to take Leslie? You. The words choked in her throat. She's 6 years old. What kind of monster? The kind who's trying to keep her alive. Jae-hoon leaned forward, and for the first time, something genuine flickered across his face. Put the knife down, Sarah. I'm not your enemy, though I understand why you'd think otherwise. She didn't lower the knife. Start talking. Now. 3 weeks ago, someone sent Minji a series of letters. Anonymous. Untraceable. He pulled out his phone, swiped through photos, turned the screen toward her. Read them. Sarah's eyes scanned the images. Elegant handwriting on expensive paper. The marked child must not grow. Destiny made a mistake with her birth. If she reaches her 7th birthday, everything ends. Her stomach twisted. What is this? Threats. Warnings. Prophecies, depending on who you ask. Jae-hoon swiped to another image. This one arrived yesterday. June 14th approaches again. The compass always returns to its origin. The child born with the mark will destroy what the mark created. She must be unmade before the cycle completes. I don't understand, Sarah whispered. Neither do I. Not fully. But someone out there believes Leslie is dangerous. Not just to Min's organization, to something bigger. Something connected to that tattoo, that date, that impossible birthmark. Jae-hoon's expression darkened. Minji received these letters and did exactly what they wanted, she panicked. Started planning. But she made the mistake of reaching out to an old contact for help. Someone in Min's network noticed and told me. Why would they tell you? Because I pay attention to things my cousin ignores. Like ancient family curses and supernatural bloodlines, and the fact that children aren't born with their father's tattoos unless something very wrong has happened. He pocketed his phone. I've been watching Minji for weeks. When I realized she was actually going to kidnap Leslie, I intervened. Intervened how? I told her where to take your daughter. Pier 14. Abandoned, isolated, but close enough for Min to reach. I made sure she'd be somewhere I could control the situation. His smile returned, sharp as broken glass. I needed to draw out whoever's been sending those letters. They want Leslie dead, Sarah. Minji's just the weapon they pointed at your family. Sarah finally lowered the knife, but her hand stayed clenched around it. If you're telling the truth, why didn't you just tell Kong Min? Because my dear cousin doesn't trust me. Family politics. It's complicated and bloody and boring. He would have dismissed me, handled it his way, and Leslie would have ended up dead anyway. Jae-hoon stood abruptly. Come on. We're wasting time. Where are we going? To Pier 14. To stop whatever's about to happen. He paused, studying her face. Unless you'd rather stay here where it's safe? Sarah was already moving toward the door. Meanwhile, at Pier 14, Kong Min stood in the warehouse with a gun pressed to the back of his neck. Don't move. Minji's voice cracked behind him, thick with tears and something darker. Please. Just don't move. He froze. Through the flickering harbor lights cutting through broken windows, he could see a makeshift stretcher in the center of the empty space. On it lay Leslie, unconscious, bandaged, small and vulnerable and impossibly precious. His chest tightened so violently he couldn't breathe. Leslie. She's alive, Minji said quickly. Sedated but alive. I didn't hurt her, Min. I swear I didn't hurt her. Then what the hell is this? His voice came out raw, barely controlled. Every instinct screamed to rush to his daughter, but the gun at his neck kept him still. I didn't take her to hurt her. Minji's words tumbled out desperate and broken. I took her because someone else was going to. Someone who won't be as careful. Someone who wants her dead. Kong Min's jaw clenched. Explain. Now. She moved around him slowly, keeping the gun raised but hands shaking so badly he could have disarmed her in seconds. He didn't. Because Minji's face, mascara-streaked, eyes red and swollen, expression caught between rage and terror, told him she was telling the truth. I got letters, she said. Warnings about Leslie. About the birthmark. About what she represents. Her voice turned bitter. About how the marked child must not grow. Who sent them? I don't know. They were anonymous, untraceable, but detailed. They knew things about June 14th, 2000. Things about the tattoo artist who did our matching marks. Things about. She hesitated. Things about destiny and bloodlines and cycles that repeat. Kong Min stared at her. You kidnapped my daughter because of conspiracy theory letters? Because they were right. Minji's voice cracked higher. Leslie shouldn't exist. Children aren't born with tattoos, Min. It's impossible, unnatural, wrong. And if she exists when she shouldn't, what does that mean? What did we do when we got those tattoos? What did we set in motion? You're insane. Am I? She gestured wildly at Leslie. Look at her. Really look. That mark on her wrist. It's not just a copy of yours. It moves. I've seen it. The compass points shift. She's not just a child, Min. She's something else. Something connected to forces we don't understand. She's my daughter. She's mine too. The words exploded between them, shocking them both into silence. Minji's face crumpled. The letters. They said the marked child carries both our blood. That she's connected to us both. That's why she exists. That's why the universe bent itself into knots to create her. Jealousy flickered ugly across her features. All this for her daughter? For Sarah's child? Kong Min's voice turned to ice. Leslie is mine too. I know. Minji lowered the gun slightly, exhausted. That's why I took her. To protect her. Because I couldn't. Gunshots shattered the windows. Glass exploded inward like crystalline rain. Kong Min grabbed Minji and dove behind a concrete pillar as bullets tore through the warehouse. Leslie's stretcher, exposed in the center of the floor, became the eye of the storm. Stay down, Kong Min shouted, but Minji was already moving. She scrambled across the open floor on her hands and knees, bullets sparking off metal around her, mascara-streaked face set with desperate determination. She reached Leslie's stretcher and threw her body over the unconscious child like a shield. Not her, Minji screamed into the chaos. You can't have her. Kong Min's mind raced. 6 shooters, maybe 7, entering from multiple points. Professional. Coordinated. Not random thugs. These were trained operatives. And they weren't shooting to kill him or Minji. Every bullet trajectory aimed toward Leslie. He pulled his own weapon, the one he'd promised Minji he wouldn't bring, and returned fire. Took down one masked figure. Then another. But more kept coming, flooding through broken doors and shattered windows like water through a cracked dam. Minji, he roared. Get her to the back exit. I can't move her. Minji's voice pitched with panic. The 4, she's still connected. A masked man broke through Kong Min's cover, lunging with a knife. They grappled, crashing into rusted machinery. The blade nicked Kong Min's shoulder. Hot pain blooming, but he twisted, using momentum to slam the attacker's head into a steel beam. The man dropped. Kong Min turned back toward Minji and Leslie, and his blood froze. 3 operatives converging on the stretcher. Minji standing over Leslie like a feral animal, the gun in her shaking hands. She fired. Hit one in the knee. He went down screaming. The second operative kicked the gun from her hands. It skittered across the concrete floor. Minji didn't hesitate. She grabbed a piece of broken glass from the floor and drove it into the man's thigh. He howled, staggering back. Not my child. The words tore from her throat, primal and possessive and completely unhinged. She's mine. You can't have her. The shot never came. A metal pipe swung through the air with a hollow clang, connecting with the man's skull. He crumpled. Sarah stood in the warehouse entrance, gripping the pipe with white-knuckled hands, chest heaving, eyes wild with terror and adrenaline. For one impossible second, everything stopped. Kong Min stared at her across the warehouse floor. This woman who was supposed to be safe at his penthouse, who'd somehow found him, who'd just saved Minji's life with a rusted pipe and pure desperation. Their eyes locked. You shouldn't be here, he breathed. Sarah's voice shook but didn't break. You think I could just sit and do nothing while you're out here? She dropped the pipe, stumbled forward, and he moved without thinking, crossing the distance between them in seconds, hands finding her face, checking for injuries, needing to confirm she was real and whole and alive. They stood inches apart. The warehouse burned around them, bullets still flying, smoke beginning to fill the air from a fire starting somewhere in the back. But neither pulled away. For just 1 second, their faces almost touched. His thumb traced her cheekbone. Her breath ghosted across his lips. Sarah! Another gunshot cracked. Too close. Kong Min shoved Sarah behind him, returning fire at a new wave of operatives pouring through the entrance. 6 down. 8 total now. This wasn't a rescue attempt. This was an execution squad. Touching. The voice echoed through the warehouse, smooth and amused and utterly out of place. Slow, sarcastic applause followed. Jihun stepped from the shadows near the back wall, clapping like he was at a theater performance. His smile gleamed in the flickering light. Sarah's blood turned to ice. You said you were helping me. Oh, I helped you. Jihun's expression remained pleasant. I led you right to them. To this exact moment. To where everything ends. Kong Min pulled Sarah protectively behind him. A gesture so automatic, so natural, it betrayed everything he felt. Jihun. I should have known. Should've, could've, would've. Jihun sked. You never were good at seeing what's right in front of you, cousin. Too busy playing gangster king to notice your own family plotting your downfall. This is about the succession? Kong Min's voice was deadly quiet. You orchestrated all of this because you want control of the organization? The organization? Jihun laughed, genuine and delighted. God, you really don't understand, do you? I don't want your criminal empire, Min. I want what you stole from me. I never stole anything from you. Didn't you? Jihun's smile twisted into something ugly. June 14th, 2000. That tattoo. That promise. That destiny. It was supposed to be mine. Kong Min's eyes narrowed. What are you talking about? The tattoo artist. The ritual. The blood binding. Jihun stepped closer, and Sarah could see the madness dancing behind his pleasant facade. I was supposed to get the matching mark with Minji. I was the one who loved her first. But you, golden boy Min, you swooped in and took her to that parlor. Got the tattoo with her. Bound your blood to hers. Minji, still crouched over Leslie, looked up with shock. Jihun, that's not. And then you abandoned her. Jihun's voice rose, cracking. Spent 25 years searching while I was right there. But the bond was already made. The mark chose you. And when it came time for destiny to create an heir, he pointed at Leslie. It chose your blood. Not mine. Kong Min's jaw clenched. You sent the letters. I orchestrated everything. The threats, the kidnapping, the timing. Jihun pulled a small device from his pocket. Detonator. You were never meant to have an heir, Min. That tattoo was supposed to end with you. But fate interfered. So I'm correcting destiny's mistake. The detonator gleamed in Jihun's palm like a promise of death. Here's how this works, he said, voice calm despite the carnage around them. You have 60 seconds to decide, cousin. Leave with Leslie now. Walk out that door, take your miracle child, run as far as you can, and this entire pier explodes. Everyone dies. Sarah, Minji, my menu. Everyone except the girl. Kong Min's hand tightened on his gun. You're bluffing. Am I? Jihun gestured toward the walls, and for the first time, Kong Min noticed them. Small devices attached to support beams, blinking red in synchronized rhythm. C4. Enough to bring this whole structure down into the harbor. Set on a dead man's switch. If my heart stops, if I release this button, if anything happens to me, boom. Sarah's breath caught. She could see it now. The warehouse was a tomb, and they were already buried. Or, Jihun continued, you stay here. Let Leslie live. Watch her grow up from whatever hell comes next. But you don't get to be her father. You don't get the destiny you stole from me. His eyes glittered with something between madness and grief. Choose, Min. Your life or hers. Your love, his gaze flicked meaningfully to Sarah. Or your legacy. Kong Min's jaw worked. Every muscle in his body coiled tight. Then he stepped forward. Away from Sarah. Toward Jehun. Take me, he said, voice breaking on the words. Let them go. All of them. And I'll do whatever you want. No. Sarah lunged forward, grabbing his arm. Her fingers dug into his jacket with desperate strength. Don't do this. I can't, her voice cracked. I can't lose you. He turned to face her, and the look in his eyes shattered something in her chest. Sarah, we just found each other. Tears streamed down her face. Leslie just got her father. You don't get to leave us again. You don't. If I don't do this, you both die. Then we die together. She was sobbing now, completely unraveling. I don't care about destiny or tattoos or any of it. I just want you. I need you. Please, Min, please don't. He kissed her, hard and desperate and final. His hand tangled in her hair, pulling her close like he could memorize the feel of her through touch alone. She tasted salt, his tears or hers, impossible to tell. When he pulled back, his forehead rested against hers. Take care of our daughter, he whispered. Tell her I loved her, that I'm sorry for missing so much time. Tell her yourself, Sarah choked out. Come back to us. Promise me you'll come back. He closed his eyes and she knew. She knew he was about to lie. I promise. Then he gently pushed her away and turned back to Jehun. Let's go. Now. Before I change my mind. Jehun's smile widened. Always the noble hero. How very. The explosion came from the wrong direction. Not Jehun's detonator. Not the C4 on the walls. The eastern support wall erupted inward with a deafening roar. Metal shrieking, concrete shattering, fire blooming orange and hungry and all-consuming. The floor buckled. Kong Min's mind barely processed the chaos. Someone else had rigged explosives. Someone beyond Jehun's control. This wasn't part of his cousin's plan. Leslie's stretcher tipped sideways, rolling toward the massive hole torn in the floor, toward the harbor water and twisted metal and flames below. Leslie. Kong Min didn't think. Just moved. He dove across the tilting floor, sliding on debris, reaching for the stretcher as it disappeared over the edge. His fingers caught the metal frame, barely, and suddenly he was hanging over the drop, one hand gripping twisted rebar, the other clutching the stretcher with his daughter strapped to it. The metal groaned, started to give way. Below him, water churned with fire and debris. The fall would kill them both. Min! Sarah's scream tore through the warehouse. He looked up and saw her sprinting toward him, completely heedless of the collapsing floor. Behind her, another section gave way. She was going to fall. Sarah, no. She reached the edge, and actually tried to leap after him. Minji caught her. The older woman, bleeding from a shoulder wound, grabbed Sarah around the waist and yanked her back from the drop. They both crashed to the floor as another explosion rocked the warehouse. Let me go. Sarah thrashed wildly, fighting like a trapped animal. I have to. He's going to let me go. You'll die. Minji screamed back, barely holding on. You'll both die and Leslie will have no one. I don't care. I love him. The confession ripped from Sarah's throat, raw and desperate and absolutely true. I love him and I can't just watch him. The floor collapsed again. Minji's eyes went wide. The section beneath her gave way, and suddenly she was sliding. Toward the flames, toward the drop, fingers scrabbling for purchase. She looked at Sarah one last time. Something passed between them. Understanding, maybe. Forgiveness. The recognition that they'd both loved the same man in different ways. Then Minji let go of Sarah and let herself fall. She disappeared into the smoke and flames below. No. Sarah crawled to the edge, coughing, sobbing, searching the inferno. Smoke filled the warehouse. Water poured in from ruptured pipes. Alarms shrieked from somewhere distant. She couldn't see Kong Min, couldn't see Leslie. Couldn't see anything but fire and destruction. Min. Her voice was raw. Leslie. Please. No answer. Just the roar of flames and the groan of collapsing metal and the sound of her own heart breaking. Then, through the smoke, a shape. Small. Moving. Sarah's breath stopped. A tiny silhouette emerged from the flames, walking steadily through the destruction. Unhurried. Unharmed. Leslie. Completely untouched by the fire. Her birthmark glowing faintly on her wrist like a compass finding true north. Sarah grabbed her daughter, pulled her close, checked frantically for injuries. Nothing. Not a scratch. Baby, how did you? Leslie's voice came out distant. Wrong. Too calm. Mommy, he's still down there. Sarah's hands trembled as she held Leslie's face, searching her daughter's eyes for something familiar. The little girl stared back with an expression that didn't belong on a 6-year-old. Too knowing, too ancient, too still. What do you mean he's still down there? Sarah's voice cracked. Baby, where's your father? He fell. Leslie said it matter-of-factly, like discussing the weather. The metal broke and he fell with me. We went into the water. Then how? Sarah looked at her daughter's dry clothes, her unmarked skin, the impossible calmness. How are you here? How did you get out? She helped us. Ice flooded Sarah's veins. Who helped you? Leslie tilted her head, and the birthmark on her wrist pulsed with faint light. The lady with the white orchid. She was in the water too. She told Daddy not to worry. She said destiny brought her to help him. Minji. Sarah's whisper was barely audible over the warehouse's death throes. Minji's alive? She went back down. Leslie's eyes stayed eerily calm. She said she had to make sure the compass stayed true. Whatever that means. Another section of floor collapsed behind them, spitting sparks and ash. Sarah grabbed Leslie and ran, stumbling over debris toward the exit. Behind them, the warehouse screamed its final moments. Metal twisting, fire consuming, water rushing in from the harbor. They burst into the night air, just as the entire eastern wall caved inward. Sarah collapsed on the wet pavement outside, clutching Leslie against her chest, gasping for breath that wouldn't come. Rain hammered down, mixing with her tears, washing ash from their faces. He's gone, she whispered into Leslie's hair. He's gone and I never told him. He knows, Mommy. Sarah pulled back, looked at her daughter. What? He knows you love him. I told him. Leslie's small hand touched Sarah's cheek with unnatural gentleness. When we were in the water and he was holding me, I told him what you said. About loving him. About not being able to lose him. You were unconscious. You were sedated. I heard everything. Leslie's eyes glowed faintly in the darkness. I always hear everything. The mark lets me hear things that aren't meant to be heard yet. Sarah's stomach twisted. This wasn't her daughter. This was something else wearing Leslie's face, speaking with Leslie's voice. Baby, you're scaring me. Don't be scared. Leslie's expression finally softened, becoming childlike again. Daddy said to tell you he's coming back. He promised. People don't come back from that, sweetheart. The fire. The lady with the orchid said the marked ones don't die easy. Leslie yawned, suddenly looking exhausted. She said the compass always finds its way home. Before Sarah could respond, sirens wailed in the distance. Red and blue lights painted the rain-slicked street, and a black car screeched to a halt beside them. Jinho burst from the driver's side, face etched with controlled panic. He took in the scene, the collapsing warehouse, Sarah covered in ash and blood, Leslie in her arms, and his expression darkened. Where's the boss? Sarah couldn't form words. Just shook her head. Jinho's jaw clenched. Inside. He fell. Sarah's voice came out broken. There was an explosion, and he fell trying to save Leslie, and a sob choked her. He's gone. No. Jinho's voice was absolute. Boss doesn't go down like that. He's survived worse. You didn't see it. The drop, the fire, the water. I don't care what you saw. Jinho was already moving toward the warehouse. I'm going in. It's collapsing. You'll die. Then I die doing my job. He grabbed a flashlight from his car. Get her somewhere safe. Take the car. Go to the secondary safe house. Address is programmed in the GPS. Don't contact anyone. Don't trust anyone. Wait for me to call. Jinho. But he was gone, sprinting into the smoke and flames without hesitation. Sarah sat on the wet pavement, holding Leslie, watching the warehouse burn. Police cars surrounded the perimeter. Firefighters arrived, shouting orders, hosing water onto the inferno. None of them could go inside yet. Too unstable. Too dangerous. She should leave. Follow Jinho's orders. Take Leslie and run. But her body wouldn't move. Because leaving meant accepting Kong Min was dead. Meant giving up. Meant their story ended with her running away instead of fighting. Mommy, we should go. Leslie's voice had returned to normal. Young, frightened, trembling. I don't want to be here anymore. Sarah forced herself to stand. Stumbled to Jinho's car. Strapped Leslie into the back seat with shaking hands. The GPS showed the route to the safe house. 20 minutes across Seoul. She started driving, hands white-knuckled on the wheel, vision blurred with tears she couldn't stop. He promised, she whispered to no one. He promised he'd come back. He will, Leslie said from the back seat. The lady with the orchid promised too. She said she owed him a debt. For the 25 years he spent searching for her. For the love that made the mark in the first place. Sarah glanced in the rearview mirror. What debt, baby? She said she took something from him when she disappeared. So now she has to give something back. Leslie's eyes glowed faintly in the darkness. She has to make sure the compass brings him home. I don't understand any of this. You will. Leslie yawned again, finally looking like the exhausted 6-year-old she should be. When Daddy comes back with the lady's secret, you'll understand everything. What secret? But Leslie had fallen asleep, birthmarks still glowing softly on her wrist. Sarah drove through the rain-soaked streets, her heart simultaneously shattered and desperately hoping. Behind them, the warehouse at Pier 14 collapsed completely into the harbor, taking all its secrets with it. Or so it seemed. The safe house was a modest apartment in Itaewon, tucked between a convenience store and a karaoke bar. Nothing like Kang Min's penthouse, just functional furniture, reinforced locks, and windows with steel shutters. Sarah carried sleeping Leslie inside, her body moving on autopilot. She laid her daughter on the bed, pulled a blanket over her, and stood watching her breathe for 5 full minutes. Alive, unharmed, impossibly untouched by the flames that should have killed her. The birthmark on Leslie's wrist had stopped glowing, but Sarah could still see it clearly in the dim light. The compass rose. June 14th, 2000. The mark that had started everything. Her phone buzzed. Jinho. She answered before it could ring twice. Did you find him? Heavy breathing on the other end. No. The word hit like a physical blow. The warehouse is completely collapsed, Jinho continued. Fire department won't let anyone near it for at least 6 hours. Structural integrity is compromised. Harbor water flooded the lower levels. A pause. Ms. Williams, if he was down there when it went under. Don't. Sarah's voice came out sharp. Don't finish that sentence. We have to be realistic. He survived. She said it with desperate certainty. Leslie said someone helped him. Minji. She's alive and she helped him and they're both. Ms. Williams. Jinho's tone gentled. The little girl went through trauma. Sometimes children say things after trauma that aren't. She wasn't traumatized. She was calm. Too calm. And her birthmark was glowing, Jinho. Glowing like it was alive. Silence on the other end. You think I'm crazy, Sarah whispered. I think. Jinho exhaled slowly. I think the boss got involved in something none of us understand. That tattoo, that date, that child. There are things happening here that don't follow normal rules. I've seen enough to know when to stop asking questions. So what do? We wait. Give the fire department time to clear the site. I've got people positioned around the perimeter. If anyone comes out of that harbor, we'll know. Another pause. Get some rest. Take care of the girl. I'll call if anything changes. He hung up. Sarah stood in the safe house living room, dripping rainwater onto the floor, covered in ash and blood that wasn't hers, feeling more alone than she'd felt in years. The last time she'd felt this hollow was 7 years ago, waking up in an empty hotel room, realizing the man from the night before had vanished like smoke. She'd survived that abandonment, built a life, raised a daughter. But this was different, because now she knew what it felt like to have him present, to fall asleep in his arms, to watch him read bedtime stories to their daughter, to believe they could be a family. And now he was gone, and she'd never told him she loved him when it mattered. She'd screamed it while trying to jump into flames, but he'd already fallen, already been out of reach. Sarah walked to the bathroom, turned on the shower, and stood under scalding water until the ash washed away and her tears mixed with the spray, and she couldn't tell which was which anymore. When she finally emerged, wrapped in someone else's clothes from the safe house closet, she found Leslie awake. The little girl sat on the bed, staring at her glowing birthmark. Baby. Sarah approached carefully. How are you feeling? It's talking to me. Leslie's voice was small, confused. The mark. It's trying to tell me something. Sarah's heart clenched. What's it saying? I don't know. It's like whispers. In a language I don't understand. Leslie looked up, and her eyes were her own again, frightened, young, needing her mother. Mommy, what's happening to me? Sarah gathered her daughter into her arms. I don't know, sweetheart. But we're going to figure it out together. Is Daddy really coming back? The question shattered Sarah's fragile composure. I hope so. But you don't know. No. The honesty hurt. I don't know. Leslie was quiet for a long moment. Then, the lady with the orchid said something else. Sarah pulled back to look at her. What did she say? She said the mark was made with love so strong it broke the rules. That's why I have it. That's why I can hear things. Leslie touched her birthmark. She said love like that doesn't end. It just changes shape. What does that mean? I think it means. Leslie's brow furrowed with the effort of understanding things too big for her years. It means Daddy's love for her made the mark. And his love for you made me. So the mark and me, we're all connected. All the same love in different shapes. Sarah felt tears threatening again. That's very wise, baby. The lady said it, not me. Leslie yawned. She said when the compass finds true north again, everything will make sense. But first, her eyes grew heavy. First, something has to be paid. What has to be paid? But Leslie had fallen asleep mid-sentence, exhausted by trauma and impossible magic. Sarah sat holding her daughter, watching the birthmark pulse with faint light, and tried not to think about payment and debts and the cost of love that broke rules. Her phone buzzed again. Unknown number. She answered. Hello. Breathing on the other end. Ragged, pained, but unmistakably alive. Then a voice she'd thought she'd never hear again, rough and broken but real. Sarah. Her breath stopped. Min. I'm alive. Each word sounded like it cost him. Can't talk long. Minji, she's with me. We're, static crackled. Safe for now. But Sarah, listen carefully. Don't trust Jin-ho. What? Why? The explosion. The timing. The way Ji-hoon knew exactly when we'd be there. Kong Min's voice dropped lower. Someone on my team told him. Someone close. And Minji saw. The line went dead. Sarah tried calling back. Number disconnected. She sat in the darkness, heart pounding, mind racing. Kong Min was alive. Minji was alive. They were together somewhere. And someone in Kong Min's inner circle was a traitor. Sarah's hands shook as she stared at her phone, replaying Kong Min's words in her mind. Don't trust Jin-ho. The man who'd just risked his life running into a collapsing warehouse. The man who'd given her his car, told her where to hide, promised to find Kong Min. The man who had unfettered access to Kong Min's schedules, locations, security details. Her stomach turned. If Jin-ho was the traitor, then he knew exactly where this safe house was. He'd sent her here. Put her and Leslie in a box with coordinates he controlled. They weren't safe. They were trapped. Sarah moved quickly, quietly. Grabbed Leslie from the bed. The girl stirred but didn't wake, and wrapped her in the blanket. She needed to leave. Now. Before Jin-ho realized Kong Min had made contact. She was halfway to the door when her phone buzzed again. Jin-ho. Fire department cleared a section. Found something. Call me. Sarah stared at the message, mind racing. If she called, would he hear the knowledge in her voice? Would he know that Kong Min had warned her? If she didn't call, would he get suspicious and come to the safe house? Her finger hovered over the screen. Before she could decide, the apartment door burst open. Sarah spun, clutching Leslie, ready to run. Minji stumbled through the doorway. She was soaked, bleeding from multiple wounds, hair plastered to her face, clothes torn and singed. But alive. Impossibly, devastatingly alive. Lock the door, Minji gasped. Now, before they track me here. Sarah couldn't move, couldn't process. How are you? Lock it. Minji's voice cracked with urgency. Sarah kicked the door shut, threw the deadbolt, turned back to face this ghost. Minji collapsed against the wall, leaving a trail of blood on the paint. Her breathing came in ragged gasps. How long ago did Min call you? Sarah's eyes widened. How did you know? Because I told him to. Before they separated us. Minji's gaze fixed on Sarah with frightening intensity. Did he warn you about Jin-ho? Yes. But I don't understand. Jin-ho's been loyal to him for years. Loyalty can be bought. Especially when family's involved. Minji coughed, and blood flecked her lips. Jin-ho is Ji-hoon's half-brother. Same father, different mothers. Nobody knew because the father kept it secret, bastard son, family shame, all that. But Ji-hoon found out years ago. Been cultivating that connection ever since. Sarah felt the world tilt. So when Jin-ho offered to help, when he ran into the warehouse, he was making sure we didn't survive to tell anyone what really happened. Minji's expression darkened. The explosion that came from the wrong direction? That was Jinho's insurance. Jihun's plan failed, so Jinho triggered the backup charges. But he seemed so. Sarah stopped. Replayed every interaction. The convenient timing. The way he'd urged her to leave. The safe house he'd sent her to. He knows we're here. He knows I should be dead at the bottom of the harbor. Minji pushed herself upright with visible effort. He doesn't know I survived. Or that Min survived. And we need to keep it that way until we figure out who else is compromised. Leslie stirred in Sarah's arms, eyes fluttering open. She looked at Minji and smiled. You came back. You kept your promise. I always keep my promises, little one. Minji's expression softened. Even when they cost me everything. Sarah's mind spun with questions, but one pushed to the surface first. Where's Kong Min? Why isn't he with you? Minji's face closed off. He went to get proof. Evidence of Jinho's betrayal, Jihun's backing, all of it. She hesitated. There's a place where the original tattoo artist kept records. Min thinks if we can find the documentation of what was really done that night in 2000, we'll understand what's happening to Leslie. Why she was born with the mark. What it means. The tattoo artist is still alive. No, died 15 years ago. But his shop's still standing, sealed by his family. Supposedly cursed. Minji's laugh came out bitter. Turns out curses are real. Who knew? Sarah adjusted Leslie in her arms. So what do? We can't stay here if Jinho. Her phone buzzed. Jinho again. No answer? Everything okay? I'm coming to the safe house to check on you. He's coming. Sarah's voice pitched higher. What do we? We leave. Now. Minji straightened despite her injuries. I know a place. Somewhere from before. Her eyes found Sarah's. Somewhere only Min and I knew about. From when we were 17. Sarah felt an unexpected stab of jealousy, even in the midst of crisis. Fine. Where? Namsan Tower. There's a maintenance entrance on the north side, never used. We hid there once when we were kids, running from my parents. Minji moved toward the window. We'll go out the fire escape, cut through the alley. If we're lucky, we've got 10 minutes before Jinho arrives. Sarah followed, still carrying Leslie. At the window, she paused. Why are you helping us? After everything, after what you did. Minji turned, and for the first time, Sarah saw real emotion crack through her controlled facade. Because that little girl carries my blood too. Minji's voice broke. The tattoo artist mixed Min's blood and mine into the ink. That's how the bond works. That's why Leslie was born with the mark. Her eyes glistened. She's not just Min's daughter. Genetically, impossibly. She's mine too. And I will burn this entire city down before I let anyone hurt her. Sarah stared. That's not possible. Nothing about her is possible. But here we are. Minji climbed onto the fire escape. Are you coming or not? Sarah looked at Leslie, whose birthmark was glowing again. The lady's right, Mommy, Leslie whispered. I can feel her. In my blood. Just like Daddy. Sarah's world tilted again. Then car headlights swept the street below. Jinho's vehicle, arriving early. Move, Minji hissed. Sarah climbed through the window, and together, this impossible trio of women bound by blood and circumstance, they disappeared into Seoul's rainy night. They made it 3 blocks before Minji collapsed. One moment she was leading them through narrow alleys. The next she crumpled against a wall, legs giving out, blood blooming fresh through her soaked shirt. I'm fine, she gasped, trying to stand. Just need a second. You're bleeding out. Sarah shifted Leslie to one arm, reached for Minji with the other. We need to get you to a hospital. No hospitals. Jinho has eyes everywhere. Minji's face had gone gray. Just help me to the tower. 20 more minutes. I can make it. She couldn't. Sarah could see that clearly. Leslie, baby, can you walk? Sarah set her daughter down gently. The little girl nodded, taking Sarah's hand. Her birthmark cast a faint glow, enough to light their way in the darkness. Sarah wrapped her free arm around Minji's waist, taking most of her weight. Together they stumbled forward, 3 women bound by impossible circumstances, leaving a trail of blood on wet pavement. Why did you really save him? Sarah asked as they moved. At the warehouse. You threw yourself over Leslie, but you also went back for Kong Min. Why? Minji was quiet for a long moment. Because I spent 25 years loving a ghost. An idea. A promise made by children who didn't understand what they were swearing to. Her breathing grew more labored. But when I saw him holding Leslie in that water, choosing to drown rather than let her go. I realized he'd become something real, something worth saving. You still love him. I love what we were, what we could have been. Minji's voice dropped to a whisper. But he loves you. The real him, not the 17-year-old boy who made promises he couldn't keep. And Leslie. She looked at the glowing mark on the child's wrist. She's the proof that some bonds transcend intent. We never meant to create her. But blood magic doesn't care about intent. They reached Namsan Tower's base. The tourist areas were closed, empty at this hour. Minji directed them around to the north side where maintenance structures hunched in shadows. There. She pointed to a small door, mostly hidden by overgrown bushes. Keys on top of the frame. Min put it there 25 years ago. Said we'd always have a place to hide if we needed it. Sarah reached up, felt along the frame. Her fingers found old metal, covered in rust and spider webs. The key turned with a grinding protest, and the door opened into darkness. Inside smelled like abandonment, dust and mildew and time. Sarah helped Minji to a corner where old maintenance equipment provided something to lean against. Leslie's birthmark illuminated the space with eerie blue-white light. We can't stay here long, Sarah said, examining Minji's wounds. The shoulder injury was bad, bullet wound still bleeding. You need real medical attention. What I need is for Min to get that proof. Minji closed her eyes. Without evidence, Jinho walks free. Jihun walks free. And they'll keep coming for Leslie until they succeed. Why do they want her dead so badly? Because she's not supposed to exist. Minji's voice grew weaker. The blood bond was meant to tie Min and me together. Forever. No other partners, no other children. The magic was supposed to ensure that. Her eyes opened, finding Sarah's. But Min slept with you. And somehow, impossibly, the bond transferred. You got pregnant with a child who carries both our blood signatures. Sarah shook her head. That doesn't make sense. I never had any tattoo. I never participated in any ritual. You didn't have to. You had him. Minji's smile turned sad. The bond lives in his blood. You took his blood into your body. Metaphorically, physically, however you want to frame it. And 9 months later, Leslie was born marked. So she's like what? A mystical accident. She's an abomination, according to the people who understand these bonds. Minji coughed, and more blood came up. A child born from blood magic meant to prevent exactly that. She breaks the rules. And rule breakers are dangerous. Leslie, who'd been quiet this whole time, spoke up. I'm not dangerous. I'm just me. Both women looked at her. The little girl's birthmark pulsed with steady light, and her eyes held that too-old awareness again. The mark doesn't think I'm an abomination, Leslie continued. It thinks I'm the answer. Answer to what? Sarah asked. To the question the tattoo artist was trying to solve. Leslie touched her glowing wrist. He made lots of blood bonds. Lots and lots. Trying to create something. But they all failed. Until me. Minji struggled upright. How do you know that? The mark tells me. It remembers. Leslie's voice went distant. 23 bonds before mine. All of them broke. People died or forgot or went crazy. But mine didn't break. Mine grew. Because. She tilted her head, listening to something only she could hear. Because 3 people loved instead of 2. Sarah's breath caught. 3 people. The man and the woman who got the tattoo. Leslie pointed to Minji, then to Sarah. And the woman who gave love without knowing what she was giving. 3 points make a triangle. Triangles are stronger than lines. Before either woman could respond, footsteps echoed from outside. Multiple people. Moving with tactical precision. Sarah's heart stopped. Jinho found us. No. Minji's expression changed, fear transforming to something else. That's not Jinho's team. The door burst open. Flashlight beams cut through the darkness. And Kong Min stepped through, soaked and bloodied and alive. His eyes found Sarah first. Then Leslie. Then Minji. We need to go, he said. Right now. I found the records. I know what Leslie really is. What is she? Sarah breathed. Kong Min's expression was haunted. The first one who survived. And there are people who've been waiting 25 years for her to exist. Waiting for what? To harvest her. Harvest. Sarah pulled Leslie closer, voice rising. What the hell does that mean? Kong Min moved into the maintenance room, and Sarah saw he wasn't alone. 2 men flanked him, older, wearing suits that spoke of money and authority neither she nor Minji recognized. These are the Guardians, Kong Min said. The tattoo artist's family. They've been protecting his records for 15 years, waiting for someone like Leslie to appear. The older man stepped forward, studied Leslie with clinical interest. 23 attempts. 23 failures. Children born with marks that faded or drove them mad or killed them before their 7th birthday. His gaze locked on Leslie's glowing birthmark. She's the first viable vessel. Vessel for what? Sarah positioned herself between the man and her daughter. For the original bond. The second guardian pulled out an ancient leather journal, opened it to pages covered in Korean script and diagrams that looked like mystical blueprints. The tattoo artist wasn't just creating blood bonds between lovers. He was trying to resurrect someone. Minji's eyes widened. Who? His daughter. Dead at 6 years old, 1987. Same blood disease that took his wife. The guardian's voice softened with old grief. He spent decades studying ancient rituals, blood magic, ways to cheat death. He discovered that love, profound, sacrificial love, could create bonds strong enough to transcend mortality. Kong Min picked up the explanation. Every couple he tattooed was an experiment, mixing their blood into the ink, binding them at cellular level, hoping that if they conceived a child while bonded, the child would be born marked. Born with enough mystical energy to act as a resurrection vessel. The first guardian finished. A body pure enough, marked deeply enough, to host his daughter's spirit. Sarah felt sick. You're saying Leslie was born to be possessed? Not possessed. Completed. The guardian turned pages, showing diagrams of compass roses with 9 points instead of 8. The mark on her wrist isn't finished. There's a 9th point, invisible now, that will emerge on her 7th birthday. When that happens, the vessel becomes ready. Ready for what? Sarah's voice shook with rage and terror. For the artist's daughter's spirit to transfer into her body. The guardian met her eyes. Leslie would still exist, but she'd share her consciousness with another soul. 2 spirits, 1 body. The mark would bind them together. Over my dead body. Sarah's voice went deadly quiet. That can be arranged, a new voice said from the doorway. Jinho stepped inside, gun raised, flanked by 4 armed men. Kong Min moved instantly, putting himself between Jinho and his family. I wondered when you'd show up. Did you? Jinho's expression stayed pleasant. Or did you lead me right here by bringing these fools? He gestured to the guardians. Their car has a tracker. I've been following them since they picked you up at the harbor. So it's true. Kong Min's voice went cold. You're working with Jehun. I'm working for myself. Jehun's just a useful idiot with family grudges. Jinho's smile widened. The real money isn't in killing Leslie. It's in delivering her to the people who want her alive. What people? Minji demanded, still bleeding against the wall. Collectors. Rich, desperate people who'd pay millions for a mystical vessel. Infertile couples who want a guaranteed child. Dying oligarchs who want a second chance at life. Jinho's eyes glittered. You think the tattoo artist was the only one playing with blood magic? There's a whole underground market for this. And Leslie's the first viable product in decades. Sarah felt Leslie's small hand squeeze hers. The birthmark's glow intensified. Mommy, Leslie whispered. He's lying. About some of it. Jinho's attention snapped to the child. Smart girl. You can sense truth, can't you? The mark gives you that gift. What is he lying about? Kong Min asked Leslie, not taking his eyes off Jinho. He doesn't want to sell me. Leslie's voice came out eerily calm. He wants to use me himself. For someone he loves. Jinho's pleasant expression cracked. Shut up. Your wife, Leslie continued. She's dying. Cancer. Stage 4. The doctors gave her 3 months. The little girl tilted her head. You want to put her spirit in my body before she dies. The room went silent. Jinho's gun hand trembled. She's 34. She has a doctorate. A life ahead of her. And she's dying because of genetics she couldn't control. His voice broke. If I can save her, if I can give her another chance. By stealing my daughter's body? Sarah's rage blazed white hot. By erasing who she is? She's 6. She barely has a personality yet. My wife is brilliant, accomplished, she deserves. She deserves to die like everyone else. Kong Min's voice cut like a blade. You don't get to murder a child to save your wife. She won't be murdered. The guardian said 2 spirits can coexist. As the dominant one. The first guardian interrupted. The original spirit always dominates. The vessel's consciousness fades within weeks. Becomes nothing more than background noise. Jinho's face twisted with desperation. I don't care. I'm saving her. And if you try to stop me. He raised the gun toward Leslie. Everything happened at once. Kong Min lunged forward. Minji threw herself from the corner, tackling one of Jinho's men despite her wounds. The guardians scattered. Sarah grabbed Leslie and dove behind old equipment. Gunshots exploded in the confined space. Through the chaos, Sarah heard Leslie's voice, still impossibly calm. Mommy, the mark is talking again. It says the 9th point is coming early. Sarah looked at her daughter's wrist. The birthmark was spreading. Tendrils of the compass rose crawling up Leslie's arm like living ink, glowing brighter and brighter. Baby, what's happening? The mark says. Leslie's eyes rolled back, showing only whites. The mark says she's here. The artist's daughter. She's been waiting. And now she's coming home. Leslie's entire body began to glow. And somewhere distant, a little girl's laugh echoed through the maintenance room. A laugh that didn't come from Leslie's mouth. The laughter grew louder, echoing from everywhere and nowhere. Leslie's body convulsed, back arching, the birthmark spreading across her skin like wildfire. Up her arm, across her shoulder, crawling toward her heart. The compass rose multiplied, fractured, reformed into patterns that hurt to look at. No! Sarah grabbed her daughter, felt electricity crackling under her touch. Leslie, baby, stay with me. She can't hear you, the first guardian said, voice tight with awe and horror. The 9th point is emerging. The vessel is opening. Through the chaos of the firefight, Kong Min fought his way to them. Blood streamed from a wound in his side, but he didn't stop. He crashed behind the equipment, grabbed Leslie's other hand. The moment his skin touched hers, the spreading mark stuttered. Stopped. It recognizes him, the guardian breathed. The original bond. It's trying to anchor to the source. How do we stop this? Kong Min demanded, still holding Leslie's glowing hand. You can't. Once the 9th point emerges, the transfer is inevitable. The artist's daughter's spirit has been bound to the mark itself for 38 years, waiting for a viable host. The guardian's expression turned grim. In approximately 3 minutes, Leslie's consciousness will be overwritten. No! Sarah's scream tore through the room. There has to be another way. Minji crawled toward them, leaving a trail of blood, one of Jinho's men unconscious behind her. The bond recognizes Kong Min. What about me? I'm part of this too. She reached out, grabbed Leslie's free hand. The mark stuttered again, then surged brighter. 3 points, Leslie's voice came out layered. Her own words mixed with something older foreign. 3 points make the triangle. Father's blood, mother's blood, carrier's blood. Her eyes opened, one pupil normal, one glowing white. But which mother? Sarah's breath caught. What does that mean? The bond was made with my blood and Minji's blood, Kong Min said, realization dawning. But Sarah's the one who carried Leslie, gave birth to her. Both their DNA is in her. 2 mothers. The guardian's eyes widened. That's why she survived when the others didn't. She's bonded to 3 people, not 2. The triangle is complete. Then how do we use that? Sarah demanded. How do we save her? The guardian shook his head. I don't know. This has never happened before. Leslie's body arced again, and this time, her voice came out completely wrong. High-pitched, childish, but wrong. I've been so alone. So cold. 38 years in the dark, waiting. Finally, I can live again. You're not taking my daughter. Sarah gripped Leslie's hand tighter, and something inside her shifted. A warmth spreading from her chest, down her arm, into Leslie's skin. You hear me? She's mine. The mark reacted. The spreading pattern reversed, retreating back toward Leslie's wrist. Keep going, the guardian urged. Whatever you're doing, don't stop. Sarah didn't know what she was doing. She just knew she loved Leslie with every cell in her body, every breath in her lungs, every impossible choice that had led them here. You don't get to have her, Sarah whispered fiercely. She's my baby. I carried her for 9 months. I raised her alone. I protected her. She's mine. Minji's voice joined hers. And mine. My blood, my bond, my responsibility. Her grip tightened on Leslie's hand. I tried to destroy her once because I was broken, but she carries my mark too, and I won't let anyone take that from her. Not even a ghost. Kong Min added his voice to theirs. My daughter. My blood. My mark. It was made with love, but it's going to be broken with love too. He looked at the guardian. How do we destroy the bond? You can't. How? The guardian hesitated. The original bond lives in your tattoo. If you destroy it, remove the skin, burn it, cut it away, the blood magic breaks. All bonds connected to it collapse. Including Leslie's birthmark? Sarah asked. Including everything. The mark would fade. The transfer would fail. The artist's daughter's spirit would be released from its anchor. The guardian met Kong Min's eyes. But the pain of breaking a blood bond is excruciating. People have died from the shock alone. I don't care. Kong Min pulled a knife from his belt, taken from one of Jinho's men during the fight. Do it. Min, no. Minji started. This is my fault. I got the tattoo. I created the bond. I have to end it. He positioned the blade against his wrist, right where the compass rose had lived for 25 years. Sarah, keep holding her. Don't let go no matter what happens. Please don't. Sarah's voice broke. There has to be another way. There isn't. Kong Min's eyes found hers, and she saw everything in them. Love, regret, acceptance, goodbye. Take care of our daughter. Tell her I loved her more than anything. Even more than destiny. He pressed the knife to his skin. Before he could cut, Leslie spoke. Her own voice this time, clear and strong. Wait. Everyone froze. Leslie's eyes opened, both of them normal again. The spreading marks retreated, consolidating back to the original compass rose on her wrist. But now it looked different. Changed. I made a deal, Leslie said calmly, with the girl in the mark. I told her she could share my body, but not take it. She could see through my eyes, feel through my feelings, but she has to let me stay me. The little girl smiled. She said okay. She's just been lonely. She doesn't want to be alone anymore. Sarah stared. What are you saying? I'm saying I'm still me. But she's here too. Like an imaginary friend, but real. Leslie's birthmark glowed softly. Her name is Hannah. She says hi. The room fell silent except for distant sirens. Then Jinho's voice, weak from a gunshot wound Minji had dealt him. That's not possible. Nothing about me is possible, Leslie said. But I'm still here. She looked up at her 3 parents, biological father, blood mother, birth mother, all holding her hands. The triangle stays, she whispered. All of us together. That's how it was always supposed to be. The compass rose pulsed once, then dimmed to normal. But in its center, where there should have been 8 points, there were now 9. The vessel was complete. But Leslie remained. Kong Min pulled Sarah and Leslie into his arms, Minji still holding the child's other hand, and for one impossible moment they were whole. Then Leslie spoke again, voice layered with 2 children speaking as one. But Mommy, Hannah says there are others. Other tattoos. Other bonds. Other vessels being prepared. Sarah's blood went cold. What others? The tattoo artist had a partner. Someone who survived him. Someone who's still making marks. Leslie's and Hannah's eyes glowed faintly. And they're coming for the successful vessel. She tilted her head, listening to something only she could hear. Hannah says they'll be here in 3 days. Who will? Kong Min demanded. Leslie smiled, but it wasn't quite her smile anymore. The collectors. The people who buy children like me. And this time, they're not sending anyone. Her birthmark flared bright red for just a second. They're coming themselves.